Hey, this is Artie Astor from B Sharp and C. So I'm gonna go ahead and react to another song by the REO brothers. And it's so funny. Like I've had people in the comments correct me on how I pronounce it. It's not Oreo. If I said Oreo, then obviously that was a mistake. But I don't really care. People in the comments can be good or bad. A comment that I get by a lot of people, especially from the Philippines, when I mention that I think I hear pitch correction or auto tune, which I've used in over 1,000 tracks. I have a really good ear when it comes to that stuff because I've used it on my own vocal tracks. I've used it on other people's vocal tracks. I've even used it on guitar tracks. I've used it on saxophone. I've used it on trumpet. I've used pitch correction or auto tune on so many different types of audio tracks that I've become very adept at understanding when you can hear its use. Not every time it's being used, because I've even used it on some of my own tracks and then I can't hear where I've used it, But I can hear when it's used, and it's used in a way that is actually a little obvious. And I did Sultans of Swing. I reacted to Sultans of Swing, and I'm pretty positive that they were using auto tune. I mean, I know they were using auto tune. The way that it sounded is exactly how my vocals sound when I use auto tune on my own tracks. Um, and this is a comment that I get a lot. From people from the Philippines when I say, "Oh, I think I hear auto tune." Sometimes they're very insulting. Actually, they come out and insult me, and then they say, "Don't you know it's sacrilegious in the Philippines to use auto tune?" And I really appreciate the sentiment behind that, and I understand the pride that comes behind that, because it's like American football, right? If you were an American football, or if you were a football player and you were criticizing an American football team and you're from another country, I can see an American being like, "Oh no, American football players don't do that. We don't use steroids, or we don't do this, or we don't." So I understand the sentiment behind that. Um, at the same time, it's not a nationality thing. I have listened to music from all over the world, and especially in the Philippines, there is a lot of competition. And I think sometimes we underestimate the lengths that people will go to make sure that their track sounds pristine. And an engineer, if someone has an engineer, sometimes people do their own engineering. I was told very rudely that the REO brothers do their own engineering, and that's good for them. You don't have to be a millionaire to do engineering or to hire an engineer. Engineering, it's not like, you're not uh, what is like a rocket scientist, you're not like an astro aeronautical engineer. Sound engineering is something that anyone can pick up, because every DAW that you purchase, whether it's Pro Tools or Reason or Logic Pro or anything, Cubase, anything, they all have tools within that you can use to engineer your music. So we're not talking about something like rocket science or brain surgeon, okay? So I want to get that out there. When there's a lot of competition, especially like in the Philippines, you have a lot of competition because, in my opinion, I think the Philippines is one of the countries where some of the best music is coming out of, and there's a lot of focus on vocals and singing. But that doesn't mean that's not carte blanche. No Filipinos use autotune because we all focus on singing. That doesn't. There's no basis for that comment. In fact, I would say that because of the high level of competition, there's a little bit added pressure when a vocalist and a band releases a song, or they're done with a song and the engineer has all the stems and they're doing the final mix and they're putting everything together. There's a little bit of added pressure to make sure that the singing is pristine. And there's nothing wrong with realizing that a note is a little flat and then making an adjustment. 99% of the time, we don't hear the adjustments. So it's no big deal. But every now and then, we hear an adjustment. And that's why sometimes I come out. Doesn't matter if they're from the Philippines, it doesn't matter if they're from. I've been doing a lot of Norwegian music or Finnish music from Finland. Doesn't matter if they're from. If I hear that there's auto tune or pitch correction being used, I might say, oh, look, you can hear the pitch correction right there. If I hear mistakes, I will say it. If I hear something that seems a little off with the musicianship or the engineering, I will say it because I feel like my reactions sometimes are a little technical, and shame on me if I hear something technical and decide just to overlook it because I'm afraid that I might, hurt someone's feelings. I want to be accurate. Yeah, but I also want to be respectful. So I do apologize if in the past, because I know that I've been very strong. In the past, I've said some things and I'm like, oh my God. And, I'm trying to not do that. I'm trying to be a little bit more diplomatic when I see mistakes and I hear things that are unpleasant. So that being said, let me pull up what I have here because I think this is really interesting. Someone in the comments who actually agreed that there was auto tune being used said you should listen to them do "You Should Be Dancing" by the Bee Gees. And I recently just listened to the original "You Should Be Dancing" by the Bee Gees, and I thought to myself, this would be super hard to cover. So I want to see the REO brothers do it. So let's go ahead and listen, see what it sounds like. Don't be affected or
You should be dancing.
bothered by my honesty. Nice. Okay, let me pause it because we've gone through, verse, chorus, and then musical interlude. We're over the halfway point, I think. We're at exactly the halfway point. 2 minutes and 26 seconds in a song that's 4 minutes and 52 seconds. Wow, that's weird. Um, this is fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic. Now, what's different? This song is recent, right? The Dire Straits song that I reacted to was a few years ago. So obviously they have a heck of a lot more experience and they've kept themselves busy. That drummer is phenomenal. his voice to go from falsetto and then into his regular singing voice. He does it like Prince does it. It just sounds so nice. Excellent, excellent fills on the drums. Guitar player, bass player, the two keyboard players, everyone sounds perfect. And this is not an easy song to cover just because it has a lot of feel to it, you know? It's got that disco feel. So you want to make sure that you perpetuate that feel. You want to copy that feel when you do it. And woof, this is phenomenally good. Like right there, he goes from the falsetto into that regular voice. He's a very good vocalist. And you know what's interesting? There are times that I wish that his vocal track was 4 decibels louder. You know, in the beginning, I was actually having a hard time hearing him over the mix, but I think that is because he's doing falsetto, which is usually a lower level, and then going into a regular voice. So they probably figured, well, if we adjust the volume to his falsetto, when he comes in with the regular voice, it might be too loud. Of course, for that, you could use, the word is escaping me right now. I'll think of it, but you can use, there's a word for it. I can't think of the word. Some compression. Oh, this sounds fantastic. That bass player is in the pocket, baby. Nice. Nice, nice. The bass comes in. Oh, I love that. Oh, listen to that little run he did on the bass. Nice fill. Wow, that drummer. Now, that was fantastic. Fantastic. And you can tell that they had a lot of fun with it. You can tell that they're supremely good musicians. And overall, it was just fantastic. Engineering was really nice. According to someone who rudely commented, apparently they do their own engineering, which is nice. I mean, a lot of people do their own engineering. Um, but there are people who hire out to do engineering. I mean, people get either degrees or certificates in colleges for sound engineering, and they don't charge a whole lot, you know? Sometimes they charge a percentage of what someone would make on a song. But I always think if you can do your own engineering, if you can do your own engineering, do it. Produce, release, engineer, mix, master your own music. I say do it. You know, it's a little bit extra work, but it's very satisfying. And the song is not going to be released, and then you're going to be like, oh, I wish they didn't do such and such with my voice or whatever. You know, if you're controlling everything yourself, then you know the final product is exactly what you wanted to do. So, and that's great. Vocals were really nice. Loved the bass player. That drummer is right up. The fact that the drummer was singing a very complicated vocal part and still drumming as awesomely as he did, I just thought was amazing. Guitar player was nice. Everything was super perfect on that. And I can see from Sultans of Swing, which it wasn't the drummer singing, it was, I believe, the guitarist singing. But from Sultans of Swing all the way up to this, I can see how they're just a tighter unit. They're more in sync. They have an energy between them. They have some unspoken communication between them, which I think comes when you play with people for a long time. You just end up understanding how they are as a musician, and just the song just sounds tighter and sounds better put together, and that's what you got here. I thought this was fantastic. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have a band that you want to recommend, go ahead, put it in the comments. I'll be happy to hear it. And that's it. And for the haters who just hate me because I say on their last song they were using auto tune or pitch correction, if they used it, and I know it's sacrilegious in the Philippines to use pitch correction or auto tune, but if they used it, I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. And almost 100% of modern artists have some type of pitch correction used. They just, in the engineering process, they make it so it's very little. It's interesting. There was an artist, who was it? I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Michael Bublé. I don't remember who it was, but there was an artist who came out and said, a super famous artist. I think it was Michael Bublé, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on it. But they came out and said, no, in the studio, our engineers will will make sure that the singing is on point, and if something needs to be adjusted, they adjust it, but I don't use it live. Now, there's a difference between going on concert and singing in front of 5,000 people and doing a real live concert. There's a difference between that and doing like a live studio version where there tends to be a little bit more work in post with engineering and things like that. um, but this is what I'm talking about. This was such a good performance, and I'm sitting there listening to the vocals and I'm just enjoying them. There's nothing that makes me think anything was tampered with or anything like that. And that's how I think if someone is going to use pitch correction or auto tune, that is how it should be used. So no one hears anything. And trust me, it's not an easy thing to do. That's when the engineering is good quality, when you don't allow the audience to hear any adjustments. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And thank you for listening. Until next time, keep it groovy.